Welcome back to Bonded by Bravo. I am here with my married friend, Dom Jen. Dom Jen.
Oh, she is married.
How does it feel to be married?
Feels the same.
Yeah, I figured.
But it was a great day.
Yeah, tell us. Tell me. The pictures were insane.
Huh?
The pictures were insane. Like, what a great place to take pictures.
Yeah, San Francisco City Hall is so freaking pretty. It felt very like when Carrie Bradshaw gets married.
That's what I was gonna say. Sex in the City.
Yeah. I had like two people in my that I went to college with at Temple, that I was definitely friends with, but don't talk to that often. They were like,
yeah.
This is so chic.
It's so chic. And your whole look was so chic. Your Kendall Jenner hair was so chic. Your makeup was so chic. I was obsessed with your hair, your dress. That one picture where you're holding the bouquet out, I was dying because I just thought, how much is she hating this?
It was Kyle and I were mouthing to each other, okay, how much longer do you think? How much longer do you think?
How long were pictures?
A half hour.
Yeah. Done.
Yeah, which is it sounds short, but when you're not down to be in front of the camera that much, it felt like forever. So by the end, I even said, I was like, are we done? And
yeah.
A few more outside. I was like, okay, let's wrap this up.
Yeah. That's good though.
Yeah. And there was a protest happening right outside that was all anti-Elon and Tesla. And I was like, this is so perfectly San Francisco. In some of the photos, in the background, it's fuck Elon Musk, and I was like, oh, I love this.
And how was the ceremony and the day and all that good stuff?
All of that was so easy, and I was just in the best mood, and I truly felt so loved. And I said to Kyle, I was like, we've really the people we surround ourselves with are so wonderful.
Yeah.
Good on us. We really felt it that day. By Sunday though, I was like, I am so sick of me. I don't want anyone to I don't want to hear anything about me for a very long time.
This is our own issues, of taking compliments even on your wedding day. How there's those girls that are I'm a bride.
Yeah, I was and then I felt bad that people I don't ever want, I don't know, it was just, everything felt so over the top from my friends. You sent a bottle, got my makeup, there was things happening behind the scenes, and I was like, oh, how do I pay them back? And I was like, you just gotta take it as a gift. And I was like, I know, but my Libra brain is going everything has to be even. I just felt bad. But then eventually I was all right, just lean into it for this one day.
It's one day in your entire life that people, and I think also it's so different because you eloped. I'll say eloped, right? We're saying eloped. Yeah. People wanted to be able, it's because we did that too. We got all of these little special things.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been as special if it was just this big old wedding day, because it'd be coming at you at so many different angles.
Totally. When we got to our hotel room, we had 2 bottles in there from all my cousins, and then another from my friend Kate, and then dinner. It was you, Jackie, my aunts, my grandma. And so it was they were coming from all ends, and I was like, wow, I feel so that. And then Eden having become the point person behind the scenes. It felt these little birds working behind the scenes or something, building.
Eden and Aisha were my 2 go-tos. Obviously Eden. Yeah, it was fun though. It was fun to be a part of it even from far away.
Yeah, and I felt it. Felt everyone was there. So it was really just so perfect. And even that morning, I ended up with I got like I put like body oil on my legs, but then like smeared it on my dress, and I really just truly did not care. Like I was
Did
like,
you see
for
it?
what? Like what do I care? Like I'm having the best time already. I'm having champagne. I'm already drinking. I've had a coffee. Like what do I care? I don't.
Could you see it? I didn't see it.
No, we couldn't really see it. It was like so far up.
Oh yeah, that it probably was like in one of
Another
the
little stain on
wrinkles.
I just was like, I don't care.
Honestly, Jen, it wouldn't be Jenna if there wasn't a stain on her wedding dress.
Honestly,
So I
100%.
just feel like you like kept in character, right?
Yeah, I sure did.
I mean, with all due.
I know. I totally did stay in character.
What was your best moment of the night or the day? God, it was a long day too.
You know, Steven and Aisha were there and they were both so excited. And I think, I don't know, no, the whole thing, everyone was so excited. And I have to shout out Eden. Eden really like, yeah, above it. I
That's
don't
who
even
did
know.
your hair, right? Eden did your hair?
Yeah. And I
Your
tried to
hair
like
looks
write her a
awesome.
card, but then I got nails the night before, so I couldn't. So just
Let me
in
see. Do you
person.
still have your nails on?
No, I spent 2 hours taking them off yesterday.
Oh my God, that was hysterical. You sending me a picture with your nails. It was like looking at like a child, like a baby animal trying to walk for the first time. You just like were holding them like a 12-year-old who just got their
It
nails done.
was I like the way they looked with the dress,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, after this we got to get them off. But when she was finishing up, I knew that they were closing, so I was like trying to rush out of there, but trying to get a sock on and a shoe on when you've never had nails in your life and they're closing, I was like in full panic. I just slipped my shoes on, didn't even like pull them up, and just like kind of walked home like.
That's so funny. My nail salon is crazy that they put your shoe for a pedicure, not for a manicure.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, but
Yeah.
okay.
It was tough.
And
but
then what did you guys stayed at the Fairmount this weekend?
Yeah, and you know what? Not worth it. I feel like I've had better service at a Hilton, and it was just, I was like, for this price, even at the front desk, I felt like I had to do the customer service. I was like, okay, so how's your day? Like,
Oh.
and he was like, oh, just, starting my shift, a little tired. I was like, you're kidding. And then, and like, look, I'm not one, like, I understand everyone could have a day. Maybe he had a terrible BART ride over, or he just sat in traffic. I try and give the benefit of the doubt, but it wasn't just him. It was everyone that we had encountered there. It was I was like, oh, we're operating at a 3 here and we're paying a 10. So this is crazy.
Did you write a review? That's one that I would probably write a review for.
I didn't. I'm just like not a review girl, but
that's fine.
I did at the Bodega Bay, up in Bodega Bay on Saturday. And so that was really nice and just like chill, and everyone was super nice there.
Okay.
So it was but now we are done with us.
Okay. Until July?
I don't even know about that. We're like,
it's so funny. It's so funny you say that, because I just totally get that. I feel like there's girls who dream of a wedding and dream of being the center of attention. And you know what, girls, I think we're the attendees. We'll hype you up. Mm-hmm. We'll be there. We want to come to the party. Yeah. We want to come to the party, and I like being the center of attention in a different way. Wedding day. I thought about doing it over so many times, and every time I thought, I don't want to walk down that aisle in front of people.
No, Kyle was even shaking when he was like putting the ring on my finger. I was like, what, are you nervous? He's like, there's people around. And he was like, I can't even imagine if there was like a room full of people.
Oh my God. And imagine like having to do the first dance. Or did you guys
do any of that?
We wrote our own wedding vows. There's no way in hell I would have said my wedding vows in front of people on my wedding day. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah. So it was perfect. It's over. I feel good about that. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, we are excited because we have a special guest on today. That's going to be joining us later on the show. Nicole Eggert, known for Charles in Charge, which I think is a little before your time. and Baywatch. She's going to come in and chat with us. I was away last week, as you guys saw from that terrible audio of our show last week. Sorry to all of our friends who listen. We spent a week in Mexico, and do you want to know what sucks is coming back at, like, I can't drink for 7 days. I'm not the one.
No, man.
No, I can't do it like I used to, and it took everything out of me. I ended
7
up
days. That's a long time to be away to, like, in Mexico.
Yeah, Saturday to Saturday.
Yeah, that's long. They say that I guess they say the perfect amount of vacation is 8 days.
Okay. Honestly, if it was just me and Meek on the vacation, it would have been a totally different vacation.
I was just thinking that before you even said that. I was like, I think that a group is different. I think group vacation is like 4 days.
Right. And it was a group vacation at like this huge, insane house where we had a man who made me an espresso martini for dinner every night. You're like, I'm in it when I'm in it, but it took me until like yesterday to recover. But the good news
too. Were you still there for your birthday? You weren't.
No, I came back Saturday, but Sunday or Monday, I was so dead. I ended up getting, which you're going to be like, Jesus God, what the hell is wrong with you?
Flight somewhere.
I ended up getting cellulitis on my legs. And so emergency urgent care on Monday night. I was like, I'm so tired. I don't want to do anything. Also, there's this really hot rash on my legs that's like all over my upper thighs. I think maybe I should go to the emergency room. And she's like, Jesus Christ, you have cellulitis. She called me today to check in on me because that's how bad it was.
What is cellulitis?
So it's basically like when bacteria gets into your bloodstream. Remember that thing you had, that stomach rash?
Yeah.
It was like,
was that what it was?
I don't know.
No, because they would have told me.
Yeah, and it's usually on your legs. But the consistency of that on my thighs and hot. It feels like there's two, like,
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable. So that's how I spent my birthday, a whole lot of nothing. But after that, I was like, I don't need to do anything at all. And Meek got me a gift certificate to get Botox. So happy 42.
Oh, perfect.
happy 42. But I know that did I watch what?
Huh?
Did I watch what?
Did you watch any? Have you like been binging shows since you got home?
I have, but it basically was like catching up on everything I had to catch up on. I had so much to catch up on.
Did you watch all of the Southern Charm, Hospitality?
All Southern Charm, all Hospitality. I'm caught up on all Beverly Hills. I feel like I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back, baby. And
Did you ever watch the Denise Richards show? I
haven't, but I think I'm going to get time to.
Yeah, I think it's like good background.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if we'll talk about it on here.
No,
like maybe
you know what I did watch? Because Portia's back, and I love Portia. Atlanta, and it was so good.
Okay, so I need to get into it.
Yeah, it was like, I just love Portia so much.
Yeah.
Also, these women are just funny. Like, they were funny. Portia, though, I think she's so great.
Well,
what was she on? The Ultimate Girls Trip.
And wasn't she on Traders?
No, that was Phaedra.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I'm only obviously one episode in, but it was really good. So I think we should commit to talking about that this season. Cool.
Okay. Do I need to do a whole bunch of research before, or can I pick up where I left? Like, can I just pick up?
I pick right up.
Okay.
Because they're going to recap, a lot of it. Like, Portia's the star, obviously.
Okay. And everything I hear is that Atlanta is one of the most entertaining.
It's like, I should have gone right to bed when I got home last night, but I was like, just one. Just one. Yeah, just one. And then finally I was like, all right, I really got to call it. I got to go to bed. I got to get up early.
Well, the one thing that we saw yesterday was the Valley trailer dropped. And it looks messy.
You know, after I finished watching that trailer, my first thought was, thank God I don't have friends like these. mean, what? I have never felt so boring in my life and felt so good about it. Like I just maybe don't attract this kind of crazy, but the way people are nuts.
I also think like they can't possibly technically be friends with each other. If everybody's willing to like throw each other under the bus at any given moment, they can't really be friends with each other. I feel like after
some of them really are though.
That's so shitty.
Brittany's definitely friends with all
Zach.
of them.
Oh. Well, speaking of Brittany, the biggest news that came out in Bravo World last week, if we want to call it news, is that Jax had a cocaine addiction and was in rehab.
We talked
Oh, we did?
Yeah, because remember we were like, oh yeah, we had no idea when he ran to the bathroom 15 times. And
oh my God, was I drunk on last week's podcast?
Were you drunk?
I don't think so.
Oh well. I'll make sure we don't repeat ourselves then.
Yeah, great. I mean, the things I feel like, yeah, I'd say tipsy. Also, like, what'd you say?
I'm sober. I said it's 10 a.m. for me every Wednesday, so I'm certainly sober.
Well, it was also like, you know, when you've been drinking for, I guess that was day 4 at that point. Who knows?
Yeah,
even foggy. So some of the highlights for me from the trailer was Kristen getting engaged, Brittany and Jax, lots of cheating allegations.
Like 3, I feel like 3 different couples. There was the Michelle and whatever his Jesse.
That one, I think so. But his implications of things that he's saying to his baby mama are pretty dirty.
She even says, like, I'm your child's mother.
Yeah, he's basically saying that she was an escort to a billionaire getting paid to have sex with him. And you know what? Good for you, Michelle.
I was like, how much? Let's go.
Good for you. We are not judging. Because if Jesse was my husband and a millionaire would pay me to have sex with him, billionaire, I would do the same thing. Jesse is just, he's just the epitome of toxic masculine.
I'm curious how things shake out with him this season, because it seems like him and Kristen have a relationship now. Ew. Then there was the rumors about Janet and her husband. Like, her husband, I guess, never wears a ring out.
And Danny, what was the one against Danny? He was like looking at women's butts or something.
Oh, yeah, like touchy maybe.
Yeah. I thought it was something about like looking at women's butts, and I was like, really? Like, I hope my husband's looking at women's butts. Like, preach. I mean, either way, I think it's going to be an insane season. There's also like accusations of Jax bringing women home. Jax, what was the other one?
Reporting her, like stalking
her.
Yeah, this is going to be a ride. For sure.
Yeah, it's giving. I mean, look, last season, I feel like last season was a little slow, but second seasons, the last few, like Southern Hospitality, The Valley, we've been getting some good second seasons.
Yeah, I'm into it. Do you want to chat a little bit about Southern Charm?
Yeah, there was so much.
I
really want to talk about Summer House too, but
okay. I kind of was hiding behind a blanket. Like, I thought it was so cringe, but I was enjoying every second of it. The way Shep was not receiving the message was something I don't know that we've ever seen on TV, but we know happens in real life. Like, this girl is like kind of ghosting you, but can't because there's a production crew happening. And so the whole thing was just, I don't know, it was worth TV. I thought it was phenomenal.
And the way that they in one shot say Shep's girlfriend Sienna to then Shep's ex-girlfriend Sienna.
The editors, yeah.
The shade was so good. I think we all know what Sienna was to Shep. I think they probably had a few good weekends, maybe a handful of weekends. Shep caught feelings. They were never official. I don't think they were ever boyfriend and girlfriend.
No.
And then this is what we just kind of have to watch Shep get handed karma on a plate.
Also, what her type is like a NFL player, someone like Shep makes you laugh. Like that is the guy that you're not bringing home anywhere. You're maybe keeping a secret to you might not even be telling your friends about this guy. And then he shows up with a megalodon tooth. And this entire episode felt like the word, like if the ick was an episode. It was just from beginning to end. I mean, at one point, Sienna, and you know what? I give Sienna so much credit because she didn't really even try and like make it nice for him. Like she was like very vocal about it. Like at one point she literally says, "I feel sick." And I was like, Shep, how are you not getting the message? This is like when Carrie throws up from the ring. Like, I mean, it is just giving ick. And he is not taking it. It's like, has he never had a girl do this to him ever?
Well, I think him saying, she basically said to him, you never defined the relationship. And now you're coming at me like saying you love me. And he kept gaslighting the shit out of her saying, that's a new age thing. That's a new age thing. And he kept saying it's a new age thing to define the relationship. Now that is Shep 101, if I've ever heard it. He's just running away from the inevitable, but he still wants her to put all of her eggs in his basket. If we're speaking Love Island talk, and then isn't when she doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to define it. There's no way she hasn't seen Southern Charm. She knows how he rolls. Mm-hmm. This isn't her first rodeo. I think the funniest thing was when Leva called on the phone and said, Sienna knows how to play the game. And Shep's never met someone who knows how to play the game as good as he does. And I just thought, bam, bam, check.
I just feel like, damn, girls like just girls of the world who have hooked up with Shep, like, let's do better than Shep.
Yeah. I think we said it the other week. Like, who do we have the most?
First time we've seen him go through this. I'm like, it's not like there's not strong, gorgeous women in Charleston. I don't understand how he's gotten away with this for this long.
And it's also like he expects the most when he's doing the bare minimum. He regifted the same present and gave it to him in front of his ex-girlfriend who he gave it to. It's like, you entitled. He's just so entitled. And that's why I think, so I heard somebody say last week, Austin gave her a tingle in her Pringle for the first time ever. And I thought, if we're staring at this, if we're staring at the three of them in this episode, I mean, don't get me started about Craig. Whitney in the beginning, when he goes up to Madison's suite with his creepy little sunglasses, I don't need him on my TV. He is such a, like, he's like the old grandpa at the show.
Lisa Vanderpump at this point. Like, we don't just collect your money on the back end.
Right. And he's like the creepy drunk uncle who can say whatever he wants and like, oh, you shouldn't eat that cupcake. Oh, Madison, are you going to put on red lipstick or whatever he said to her? And I just, there's something about the way that he talks to women that irks the crap out of me. Yeah. There were other, like, obviously then we get into the Craig and Austin conversation. And this is the first episode all season. I think we see Craig drunk.
Yeah. His face is so full. I mean, it could be the sun, but I think after the conversation, there's a bottle of champagne.
Yeah, he was holding it. You could just tell he was shit-faced. And to admit that he has a problem while shit-faced, I thought was a little ironic. Yeah, but sure. I think, like, for all the middle-aged women out there that have been a Team Craig fan over the last few months, to me, that episode that night basically just put the nail in the coffin for me as to why Paige decided that she, like, in the beginning, it was fun. They did a little bit, I think, of a montage, or maybe it was in Summer House, back to like when Craig was drinking and what it looked like and how he reacted. And how he kept digging on Shep this episode, I didn't think, like, you're not going to accomplish anything. And I felt like we saw this old Craig, this old nasty drunk Craig, that I just thought, like, if I was Paige, I don't want to put up with this.
Also, the thing I just keep coming back to is he just doesn't have enough swagger for Paige. I really think it kind of just is that simple.
Yeah. Especially like Paige doesn't seem like she wants to be the one. Craig says, Paige helped me beat this.
I don't know that Paige is into guys with like salmon colored short.
It's that simple.
Aligned with her in that way. Like I also would never date a guy who wore salmon colored shorts with flip flops.
Yeah. I'm like, does Meek have salmon colored shorts? No, but he might.
Raised that way.
No, the flip flops for us will get us every time.
Yeah. Well, I know that I'm like, we're kind of a little, well, I guess we have 15 minutes because I definitely want to chat Summer House.
We have to talk Summer House.
And I know there's Southern hospitality, but I'm almost wondering, do we wait until next week after this Vile Files episode?
Ooh.
I started it already. But it's always so frustrating when you record an episode and then so much
things are happening
out after a podcast episode. And then you're like, well, now I just take back, like now I'm wrong about everything I just,
yeah.
Maybe let's get into Summer.
Fair. Summer House. So
dude,
we
I
have
was
thoughts.
on my friend's phone, like about Kyle. Like I was raging at the TV.
Raging. And the thing that I think was so interesting, Paige said so many things this episode. The thing that I found interesting was, I think that the interesting and sad was that Paige said, Giggly Squad is my life. And I'm not allowed to talk about it 2 months out of the year. And I think it's the first time we ever heard Paige say the word Giggly Squad. I think it's also the first time we ever heard Hannah's name brought up since she left.
Yeah.
And that is such a big part of Paige's personality. I saw this TikToker say that she heard on a podcast in Australia, of all places, that Paige doesn't show her full personality on Summer House. She kind of keeps it reserved. But if you're a giggler, you feel like you know Paige because she's so open. And she says on this episode, the Giggly Squad is my life. And I'm not allowed to talk about it. And I think any of us who listen, even if we're not avid gigglers, know how much she puts into that podcast, how much opportunity that's came, but all because of the hard work her and Hannah put between it. And she's not allowed to talk about it. That's crazy, Kyle. Grow the fuck up.
Yeah. And like to that point, I had even noticed she wore a giggly like sweatshirt, like she's been wearing some of the merch. And I was like, I actually don't even remember her wearing the merch before. Like she really sort of tiptoes around this thing that is so big in her life. And I am curious, like, is it that she can't talk about it because then Bravo will have to take some sort of cut because of that Bethany clause? Or is it that
that's interesting?
Feels like if I talk about it, then it's sort of me talking about it with Hannah, and then that ruffles feathers, so she kind of just leaves it on the table and is like, not here.
I mean, I forgot about the Bethany clause because I just thought, like, why haven't we talked about it? And the fact that she was wearing merch was interesting because, again, it's like the first time we see this all go down.
Yeah.
They
need to fix that with Hannah. Like, Amanda needs to fix that with Hannah.
I agree. Watching this, do you want to know who pissed me off more than Kyle this episode? And no one's going to like to hear it, but Amanda. Amanda, you cannot be Switzerland between your husband and a friend. If I'm like, my husband's everything, but there is not a chance in hell my husband would think that he's allowed to talk to my friends, even if they have their own same separate relationship. There is not
a rage text.
A rage text.
Rage texting one of your best friends.
I would lose
my mind.
Like, on what planet do you think you're allowed to do that, Kyle? And Amanda just sitting there being like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. That's it.
That's it.
She should get your man.
Kyle, absolutely not. You are not going to speak to my friend this way.
No, and we're not doing this here. Shut it down.
And the reason, to me, it's like the reason that she didn't do that is because she's so intimidated by the wrath of Kyle. She like sort of, it was like she probably in her head for a second and was like, is it worth fighting with Kyle for the rest of who knows? I'm sure
she went and
probably behind scenes that week.
She went and hid in the bathroom.
She hid in the bathroom.
there's this TikTok trend where it's like this and a glass of wine, this and my best friend, and it's like a picture of like a sunset, and somebody wrote this and Amanda divorcing Kyle.
I think I saw that.
I was like, this is perfect because this is what we're all thinking.
Kyle's entitlement to this show is something that I think Bravo needs to check.
100%. He threw a full-on toddler.
He does it every season.
Every season.
We always see if we could get Bravo to clip together every time Kyle has walked out that front door of the back, slammed the door, gone out to that gate. I'm done. Maybe throws a can back. It is the same scene over and over and over again, and it's tired. Like
it really is.
I've been done with Kyle. I'm still done with Kyle. I don't know that he's even good for the show. People will argue that he's the party. He brings summer is fun. And I just really disagree because I think Kyle being there doesn't allow everyone else to sort of be their full self, sort of to the point about Paige. Like we would love to see her in her giggly self, like her full self, but she can't because she's sort of tiptoeing. I don't even think we get it from I think everyone is just always kind of walking on eggshells around Kyle, and so no one's like totally letting their guard down. But I think he's made it clear to them, maybe not what we see, but I would bet in the background somehow, like whether it be like in person or text, like he's somehow made it clear to him that this is his show. Mm-hmm. And so people sort of obey by that.
And the other thing is, as much as we like, there's other people in this situation from Bravo that were like, okay, it's time to go. We don't need to name names. We all know who they are, who think it's their show.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, will Kyle not go because this is the only promo for his drink line?
They would have the only way Kyle will go is if they fire him. Like he would.
We said it last season. We're sick of him. And it's like the crying and the throwing the temper tantrum, the fact that your wife hid in a bathroom stall instead of wanting to talk to you, look in the mirror. No one holds that man accountable. No one. And when they do, he cries and throws a temper tantrum.
That's the issue. Like I would have even loved in this moment for Carl to say, hey man, you can't keep doing this. Like you're wrong right now. You can't be out here rage texting Paige. Like he said it in a different interview, Carl did, but in the moment he allows Kyle to get away with so much. And I think it's obviously because Kyle has given him so much, but like, you know, in terms of Loverboy, letting him come back, all the stuff, all the drama that has unfolded between them with business. I think Carl just feels such a loyalty to him, like a blind loyalty and it's like, if anyone's going to call Kyle out, it's Carl or Amanda, and neither of them are willing to step up to the plate. So then we're just left with this.
And I think the other thing that's interesting, it's like what Paige said. And first of all, seeing Lindsay go and be the first one
upset,
Paige saying, oh, I wasn't expecting it to be you. There was something, and people are pitching them to Roni hard. And there is something about them together that I really, really like. It's like the two queens coming together. Right. And you just feel like you guys can do damage together. Go do it.
The thing too is we've gotten to see these two women come together.
Yeah.
And so that excites us as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing that I just wanted to say was the position that they're putting Paige in, to think that she's responsible for her boyfriend, who she's probably already apologizing for, and one of her best friends. It's not fair. And when Paige came back out and said, like, I have been, if there's one thing I am, it's a good friend. Like, I am not two-faced. And I think anyone who watches could say the exact same thing. There's not that's why none of us could believe the cheating rumors. It's not who Paige is. No. And for her to say, like, I've managed to maintain a friendship with Amanda, never saying anything about Hannah, and vice versa. And here you are putting me in the middle of that when I'm trying not to. To your point, I wish for Paige's sake that Hannah and Amanda could get over it. I think it's like if Kyle wasn't in the picture, I think Hannah and Amanda could be friends. I know.
100%. I think Amanda would agree that it's just like she knows if she becomes friends with Hannah that it's like now she's not loyal to Kyle, her husband.
Yeah. I think Amanda's threatened by Paige and Hannah's friendship.
Do you?
And I do. Because watching back that season that I talk about, the quarantine season.
I actually started it.
And the way that she would talk to Hannah and like push back against Hannah, she's never done that to another girl in the house. And it's like, why do you have the balls to talk to Hannah that way? Hannah got such a bad at it. I say it over and over and over again that season to make Kyle look like he was Prince Charming. And let's be honest, I feel like if we all watched it back, things would be so different. So different. I could like
I
go on
feel bad that Amanda was so young when she got with Kyle because she didn't. I feel like only now she's probably. I don't know.
Like she's too deep in. And guess what? I
don't know that she would have tolerated.
No.
This if she met Kyle now, would this be attractive to her? Would she tolerate?
Absolutely not. But the thing is she's made her bed and she has a choice to not be in it. And it's almost like we see that version of Paige where we saw the clip where she says like, if I break up with Craig, I'm going to lose everything I've ever built. That's almost true for Amanda. She has to be feeling some sort of that. Like her job is Loverboy. Her, like everything she does is about Loverboy. I would advise any girl out there who's listening, don't do that. Be your own person. Like, don't let your freaking husband or partner bully you into.
I would also just be so embarrassed. Like maybe this is a personal problem, but I do deeply care about what people think about the person that I'm with, like especially my family. Like almost every person I would date, like I would kind of put it through this filter. There's like specifically 2 cousins that I'm thinking of that I just would want to be able to like sit down and have dinner with them. And if I like as the 4 of us, and then of course my and if I couldn't see it, then I was like not interested, or I knew it was just a momentary, like a moment in time. It was like never going to go anywhere. And seeing his freak outs on screen, like having my family be able to see those tantrums, I would find really hard to sit with. I truly would.
I mean, not let alone watching your family have to watch him cheat on you on national television.
That's terrible. But these tantrums every season when he just storms off, I think someone in my family would text me and be like, let's sort this out. What's going on here? Because if this is going to keep up and you want to be together, maybe don't do the show. Like something's got to give here. You can't have both because this is just not chill at all.
It's so embarrassing. That's such a good point.
And I'm feeling a distaste for Amanda right now. And I love Amanda.
Right.
But I feel a certain way towards her right now. I feel like you did not stick up for Paige. You did not shut him down what are you doing? What are you doing? You have been sitting in the passenger seat of his life for almost a decade now. Like, get driving, girl. Get driving.
And how embarrassing for you. I'm sorry. Like Paige and Sierra having that Old Navy conversation, I think it was last season, and being like, I hope you're not just Kyle's life and Kyle's, but you're right. He's been in the passenger seat. He makes the rules. I think it's their age difference. I don't think Kyle could get away with dating someone his own age. Not one girl his own age will put up with his shit. And we said it last year. We hope for Amanda that she does not get pregnant and have his babies.
Or if this show doesn't work for them as a couple, then like maybe they need to take a step back and like, does maybe the show bring out the worst in him? You know, like we don't know what he's like off of the show. We only know what we see on the show. And maybe this like constant boozing on the weekends is like what really triggers all of this, and being in the house and feeling like he has to make a show. If that's not working, then okay, then you guys take it, just stay private then and stay married. And maybe it's great.
I'm like, do you really believe that Kyle doesn't act like this without the cameras?
I don't know how much he's drinking when it's not like when they're not filming. Cause it does sound like I will give him that. Like, it seems like he does work a lot. And so I feel like he is like, put it in his head. Like it's almost on the calendar. These are when I'm filming. This is when I can get rowdy and I can drink and send it or whatever. But I think when they're not filming, I don't know that he's doing it like this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if that's the benefit of the doubt we're going to give him, it's still a good season coming up. Imral already brought a girl back to the house.
He sure did.
He gives me such cringe energy. I think he's going to be a one season wonder.
He's 100% a one season.
Yeah.
I'll be shocked if he's in every episode, to be honest.
Right. It's true. Lexi asked to define the relationship. Jessie said, I think she's jealous. What gives you that impression? She said it. What do you think about her going to the club with her parents? To me, that's a red flag. Like, their family dynamic. I do not like family dynamics that are very close knit. It gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, boy,
heebie-jeebies.
Sorry for you.
You feel sorry for me?
Huh?
You feel sorry for me?
No, I said
the story
for you, but that's
good. I agree.
I don't know. I guess I feel like I should have had more of a reaction to it, but for whatever reason, I didn't. I was like, all right, whatever. I guess if they want to party together, that's fine. I know.
She just, it creeps me out. It like
I know that I should have more of a response. I just, for whatever reason, it didn't bother me in the way that I think it probably bothered 99% of the viewers.
Yeah, that's fine. I still like the whole West and Jessie of it all. There is something about their douchiness. It's just like the perfect amount. Like when West comes home from wherever he was, and then Jessie walks in from sleeping in Lexi's room and they do the sat. Is it sat? No, is it sun? No, it's sat. It's sat? Oh my God, it's sat. I'm like, you're both just so perfectly stupid to be on this show that it's like almost endearing.
Yeah, I do appreciate that West took it outside the house.
Yeah, and we're not even
doing stuff. And I'm like, all right, at least he's respecting the space.
And one other shout out to our good friend Carl, because Carl was such a sport spearheading
the memes.
Spearheading the show. The gender reveal was like that's going to go down in Bravo history. He's like picking up the things. He's sitting there with the little bib that says it's a girl.
He knows all the answers if they're regarding Lindsay, you know?
Oh, it was so good TV, but I just see that for them. I feel like if they do this next season, they're just going to be friends because that's where it started. I don't think Carl holds the same grudge that Lindsay will, obviously, but even Lindsay, like, hey, there's NA champagne in there.
That little moment, I was like, okay, I was holding on to that moment. I said, oh, this is good. This is good.
I know it is good. We still have a lot coming up.
Yeah.
But we're so excited. We are going to be next up is going to be our special guest, Nicole Eggert from Baywatch. So stay tuned. We're going to talk a lot with Nicole. We have a lot to chat about. Baywatch, Charles in Charge. We have some rapid fire questions for her. And of course, we're going to get into Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So stay tuned for that one. Well, we are so excited. Welcome to Bonded by Bravo, Nicole. We have actor, producer, podcaster, Nicole Eggert, known for her roles as Jamie Powell in Charles in Charge. That was one of my favorite shows growing up. And Summer Quinn in Baywatch. Thank you so much for being here on Bonded by Bravo.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Bravo, and we definitely have questions to ask you about Bravo because you're also a Bravo fan.
Huge.
Huge. What's your favorite franchise?
I love Beverly Hills and I love Orange County. Yeah. But then I love Below Deck too. So
don't even get us started on Below Deck. That's how we got here.
It's like the best.
I always say a drug show for Bravo. Like if someone's like, where do I start? I'm like, start with Below Deck. See how that goes for you, and then you know, it'll take you away.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I'm on vacation when I'm watching it too. It's like so like happy place. Yeah, I love it.
Well, I think there's something about Below Deck that Jenna and I say all the time. It's the perfect formula. Like if you've ever worked in the service industry and then you're already kind of sleeping with each other in the service industry, but now you're forced to live together. Yeah. It's such a good intro.
Really
before we get into that, I think a lot of folks who might be listening want to know about Baywatch. I mean, Baywatch back in the day was such, I want to say like a cult classic, and kind of the first of its time. When you were shooting, did you realize how big it was going to become?
Not at all. Not at all, because it was a show that was on a network and was canceled. So this was like their last ditch attempt, to bring this show back. And yeah, and they brought it back, and boy, it took off and it hit. And I think it's, I think because they were able to have the freedom to be a little bit more risque than they were on the network. So people responded to it better.
How was the iconic red bathing suits? I remember like being on vacation with my parents, and me and my cousin were like, we're going to pretend like we're on Baywatch. We were 12 with nothing to fill out these bathing suits with, but it just became such an iconic, the red bathing suit, the running down the beach. What was it like being in that moment?
Well, those bathing suits honestly were the worst. Like, they were absolutely horrible because they flattened you out. Like, they flattened you out and you couldn't do anything about it, right? Like, there's no way to stuff it. There's no way to tape anything. And like the way that they would just go over the shoulder, we were constantly like having slip ups of it just like popping off. So it's like, I always like the Speedo ones better that had like the razor back, because at least you were in there and you were secure. There was nothing was popping out anywhere.
Yeah. I wrote down the bathing suit, but also at that time, the fame that was happening around everybody on that show, it was blowing up. It was happening so quickly. How did that impact you as an actress in Hollywood?
Well, for me, it was like this double-edged sword. It was a bummer, if I'm being completely honest. It was a bummer for me because I had been an actress my whole life. I had worked on some really quality projects, and I found myself on this show, which on one hand is the #1 show in the world, and on the other hand is just being ripped apart, in the press. Nobody's taking us serious as actors. And it's just like different casting. The casting directors weren't calling anymore, and the same doors weren't open. And it took a very long time for that stigma to turn into something positive.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it hard to find work after for you or any of the other cast?
I mean, it really was. I think it was harder for a lot of people who got their start there too, because they were, associated with just that. At least I had some work prior. I really took some steps away from the industry in general after that, because I had been working for so long, for so many years, and I just kind of needed a break, and I needed to be irresponsible, and I just kind of needed that in my life, and to sort of go on a little journey, self-discovery journey. So I took some steps back from it. But yeah, we definitely got pigeonholed. I mean, there's no, and at the time it was Baywatch bimbos, and it was considered this fluff. Like, yeah, it was horrifying, because like for Pamela, that was her thing, right? So that was great for her. For me, that wasn't who I was or what I was about or anything like that. So for me, it was horrifying. And I just was like, wait a minute, I'm not that. And so it's disappointing in that. And and I was so young, I tried to run from it. I kind of felt like if I run now, you can't catch up to me. But as we know, as adults, that's not reality. And lesson learned.
How was the show pitched to you? Just curious. Was it? Yeah. Just curious.
So I was on Charles in Charge, which was a network show that was canceled, and that was brought back in syndication as a last ditch effort.
I wonder if that's when I watched it.
It was the same concept. So the producers from Baywatch came to my producer on Charles in Charge and was like, how do we do this? And he came on as a producer, and he brought me on. And how it was pitched to me is that I would have a spin-off show, that I would be introduced on Baywatch as this rookie lifeguard who was also going to high school. And we were going to do a spin-off of a beach show with the high school, sort of like 90210 by the beach.
Yeah.
So that's what sold me. And when
I'm sold now, I'm like, put it on air. Where is it?
Where is it? But they didn't want to do it because once they started airing Baywatch, it became the #1 show in the world. And they were like, we're not touching this and you're not going anywhere. And this is staying exactly, which I get it, that they didn't want to mess with the formula. But it wasn't what I signed up for. So
yeah. I saw this quote that you said that you had mentioned at one point that it was in your contract to maintain 105 within 5 pounds of 105 pounds as part of your
weight
contract.
they hired you at, you had to stay within 5 pounds, which I get it. I do. Yeah. And I also think part of it, to be honest, was good for, they didn't want women losing too much weight either. That for me, I was so young that 19, 20 years old, I wasn't working out. I wasn't really caring about that too much. It was sort of like, it was a non-factor.
Yeah.
I wasn't, my body wasn't fluctuating in weight anyways. But I think it was to protect women too, to not lose too much weight.
Yeah. Do you think Baywatch would be as successful nowadays?
No. No. I don't.
It was like the first risque show, and it was simply because women were in bathing suits, like running down the beach.
It was very 90s, right? And it was very like MTV. They had those montages to the great music, right? So it was very like an MTV music video meets a TV show. And it kind of was a bummer because, so for me, I went into it thinking like, this is great. These are women and they're doing the same job as guys. And I really had the wrong idea of what the show was. Like I was completely, I cut my hair off. I went for like, what would a young girl who wanted to be a lifeguard, what would her hair look like? Well, she certainly wouldn't have this long blonde hair. And I chopped it off and they were horrified when I showed up on set. They were like, what happened? And I was like, well, I think it's, more of the character. And then I saw Pamela come out of the trailer. She like had full hair and makeup. And I was like, what is she doing? I was so confused. I was like, we're at the beach. I grew up at the beach. I was a beach girl. So I was like, mascara, we're going in the water. So I was very much on the wrong page. Just from the jump, I will admit that I had no idea what was going on. So I thought it was going to be like a lot like the original show where it was going to be action and like, it wasn't. They had a whole other idea.
Did that cause issues with producers, directors, cast, that you were looking at this as like an acting opportunity and they were looking at it in a way of like a hair, makeup, boobs, butts?
Yeah, it was quickly apparent that they really weren't caring that much about the storylines. And, it was, it took me a while to figure out what the hell was going on. I was very confused. And when I realized, I was like, this isn't the show for me. This isn't what I want to do. And they started trying to give me storylines that were a little bit more interesting and not so fluffy to their standards. But it just wasn't happening.
Yeah. Are you still in touch with anyone from the show?
I am. I recently produced a documentary that was acquired by ABC. So you can stream it on Hulu and Disney Plus overseas. And we did a documentary on all the actors and how it changed their lives and really kind of introduced who they are as people, because I think the show was like David Hasselhoff and then the sea of beautiful people.
Yep.
And they were interchangeable and you had no idea who they were. It was this blonde or that blonde.
Right.
And, right.
Yeah.
And this hot guy. And so we really went down a journey of getting to know who the people are and how the show affected their life and their career and where they are now. And it's really great. You don't have to be a fan of the show to like the documentary because it's more of like a story about humanity and life and, what experiences, how they can change your life and everybody's journey. So yeah, I'm very much in touch with everybody.
I started watching it last night and it was so it brings you back to that moment as it was happening. Because like you said, it was David Hasselhoff and a bunch of beautiful people. I remember when the show was airing, the character Stephanie, I'm sorry, I don't know her name in real life. But
Alexandra Paul.
Alexandra. it was like almost controversial that she didn't have the same body as the other women on the show, that she had more of athletic build, that she didn't have big boobs, and it was a headline.
I know. And then she was the real athlete. I mean, she's a triathlete. Like she was the one.
Right. You could tell she was built like an athlete.
Yeah.
And I remember just there were always like these silly, like headlines splashed, and I just can't imagine what it was like as for young actors growing up and that being their first experience, like you said, and how they kind of were able to convert that into other roles. Even with Pamela Anderson, just seeing her at the Oscars, I mean, that was awesome to see the comeback that she's having. It seems like she took time off after a little bit of that. So the other question I had was there competition amongst the women during the show?
Okay, not on my season because we were so different from each other. Like Alexandra was obviously this athlete and she was, the lieutenant. And then there was Pamela, who was like this bombshell who was a lifeguard. And then there was me, who was like this kid who lived in a trailer park and had never seen the ocean and like just wanted, to be an athlete. So no. And I went into it knowing Pamela and knowing David Charvet. A lot of us were friends before. So it was fine. But I think later as the seasons went on and they brought in people who knew what they were getting involved in, right? Like we got involved with it. We had no idea what we were stepping into.
Right.
And then once the show became this hit and then women were hired and men were hired on, I think that's when it became a little bit more competitive. It's so interesting to watch it back. Yeah. We're so excited that you're here, and thanks for sharing all of the Baywatch scoop. Any insider scoop or fun stories that you think would be interesting for our listeners to hear? Like any behind the scenes juicy gossip or like fun fact? I mean, even you talking about the bathing suits was such a little nugget of like, because the women are just seem so effortless running down the beach in these onesies. Right.
Yeah.
And the truth is, most of the time we're freezing because we shot during the winter months. So it's cold and, and learning to run in slow-mo. Okay, so the slow-mo run is like a big thing, right? But we didn't know that they were going to do that the first season. Like us, when we came back in syndication, we didn't know that was going to be a thing. And we were just running. And for me, I was like running full speed, like a lifeguard would, going to save a life. And when they would slow that down, I was like, you look crazy. Like, this looks crazy. So I think the slow-mo run, which everybody always asks us about, I think that was something that was perfected and people sort of realized later that was a thing.
Oh my
God.
So
to like bring it down a notch, and be more self-conscious of like what you look like and the facials you were doing. And the slow-mo run is one that I look back and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Had I known, they were going to slow it down, I would have adjusted.
That was the everywhere. That was the billboard. That was the opening song. That was everything. The slow-mo run. That's so.
But
funny.
who knew? I learned the hard way. Yeah, who knew?
Yeah. Well, we really want to talk to you about all things Bravo. We get into Bravo and pop culture, Baywatch being the pop culture, and now we want to chit chat about Bravo. We were emailing last night asking, "Hey, Nicole, can we chat with you about Beverly Hills?" And you basically said, "I'm watching as we speak."
Watching it as we were typing.
What are your thoughts on the season?
Okay, well, particularly last night, what I'm not liking is the men completely like gaslighting these women right now. That was the standout for me. These women are nasty enough to each other and tearing each other down, and to see these two women not recognizing that they're just being manipulated by this man, and PK particularly, right? Like I wanted to reach in the TV last night and remove him. It was like he was making this comfort place for her so she doesn't panic, so that he can just annihilate her, is what I feel like.
And I really almost wish he would just tell her that the divorce is coming. I think leaving her in this limbo is what's making her crazy, because I mean, think about anyone in uncertainty. It's so uncomfortable. It's like, I think if he could really say to her, we're getting divorced, this is not just a separation, then she could start to swallow that pill a little bit.
Yeah, but I think he's so like such a control freak that he doesn't really want her to lawyer up, right? Like I think he told her to lawyer up and then was like, "Oh wait, shit, let me backtrack that a little bit because maybe he doesn't want her to lawyer up. You know, he wants to keep her in this comfortable place where she thinks there's hope and so that he can get his 10-year divorce in."
It's so insane. And she flat out asks him, do you see divorce in our future? And him saying, I don't know. Meanwhile, the tabloids and the blogs that we're getting fed are out here saying that he's been seen with women. It's a known fact. And he's just stringing her along. And it's breaking my heart for her because there's even in the scene where she says she doesn't know if she wants a divorce, but he's the one running
in charge. Yeah. I mean, and with Kyle, it's kind of the same, right? Like, I feel so bad for Kyle because I felt like she didn't know what she wanted. And there's always been those rumors about Mauricio, right? And now it was straight in her face. This is permanent. And there's really no coming back from that, right? Like, he's definitely sleeping around. And yet she's sitting there waiting for him to bring it up.
How weird was that conversation?
I did not.
I was stirring the coffee. Like, what is going on here?
Well, the way that he walked in that house, like, it's my house, I own this place. Their hug and their kiss exchange was
that the way he went in and just embraced her. I was like, I know that Kyle probably doesn't mind that, but I minded. I was like, this is a little too much. Like, this is feeling too what we were, and I need some real body language cues to tell me that's not what we are.
But it's like he's to Nicole's point, like he's manipulating the situation and just saying like he would have sat there and just brushed that right into the rug and not had the conversation if production wasn't there. And I think Kyle would have too.
I know. They would have just sat there staring at each other. And the thing is I think I don't think he wants a divorce because he doesn't want to divide up the money necessarily and the company and all of that, because that's going to get ugly because they don't have the prenup or anything, right? They don't have any agreements and she thinks she's entitled to it. We've heard her have these conversations. So, and they both, it's like they're going in there and trying to make these women feel like as if everything is hunky-dory, right? And it's...
How do you feel about... Go ahead, Abe.
No, go ahead.
How do you feel about them not, like the rest of the cast really not being able to talk about any of the headlines with Mauricio, like Kyle shutting them down? Garcelle tries to dig a little bit, even with about the Morgan headlines. It's like, if anything really comes up, Kyle's pretty quick to squash it. And I personally just don't. I feel like for all of the headlines that exist and for you guys, for them being on a reality show, we should know more.
Yeah, she's being very, very coveted with it all. And I feel like it's at the end of the day, because she is a producer on that show, so she should be wanting the best show. But I feel like she's confused and she doesn't know what she wants. And if she was open about the Morgan situation, if there's something going on between them, I think she felt like she was putting a nail in the coffin in her marriage. So she's not wanting to make anything final is what I feel like from her. I feel like she's in this really like this place of limbo of not knowing what she wants. And she doesn't want anything to make it final.
And I think that
deal with it.
I think the pictures were almost a nail in the coffin for her, as she says in some of her confessionals that like, okay, now it's time for me to move on. And I don't know why that was more sad for me to see than PK and Dorit. It's like her saying like, I never wanted this. This isn't how I expected my life to be. I also am so confused. Was their daughter Portia in Europe while all of this was happening? Because wasn't that a thing?
She was
right.
I think she was only there for the first part of the trip.
Right. And I think that's another reason why it caught Kyle so off guard, right? Is because in her mind, she was thinking Mauricio and her daughter were going on this trip. And then before you know it, boom, he's like this hot girl, this young lady. Yeah.
Did you guys hear Faye Resnick say Mauricio was trying to get PK and my husband to go to Saint-Tropez with him?
Yeah.
I'm like, is this, it's just, you're watching him go out, live his life, do the best thing that he could possibly do, meet women, etc. Let's say the woman and him didn't know about the pictures. Meanwhile, Kyle is at home seeing these pictures, crying. The PK and him are so messy.
They're so messy. And to drag somebody's husband in.
So that photo of of PK and Mauricio with Kyle Cooke from Summer House DJing was just, to me, that was enough. I was like, this image in itself is giving crisis. And I was part of it.
Midlife crisis.
So like totally. So like if they're in Ibiza and all these places, like what are they doing there? They're partying, right? Like this is so gross. They're definitely partying. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel like that woman who he met at the airport obviously got those pictures and leaked those pictures because it's not European press to catch them at the airport. We only do that in America.
Yeah.
In Europe, they get them at the nightclub and on the yacht and on the beach.
Yeah.
Only in America do they go to LAX.
And also,
and even if they did, they can see the camera.
That's the part that threw me, was they had to have seen that camera. It's not like he was shooting out the back of his van in the middle of the airport. And the way that the girl posed with her leg up in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like she was aware of it, and it could have been somebody with a camera phone. It could have been somebody on their phone. It didn't necessarily have to be somebody standing there with a camera. It didn't look like the highest quality of photos. So it could have very well been a friend of hers or somebody she got to stand there. I don't know why I feel that she did it. And I think Kyle felt that way. And I think Kathy kind of alluded to that.
Definitely feels that way.
That was an interesting scene because Kyle put the kibosh on that, talking about the girl real quick.
And they blurred her face. Did you catch that? Like in the show, her face is blurred. So she doesn't get any play. I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Where do you stand with Sutton? What are your thoughts on Sutton this season? Or just in general, I guess.
I just feel like with all that money and all this time, like, why have you not got help? And it's just, it's like the baby voice and the, am I good enough? And the validation she needs. Listen, I get it that you had a hard upbringing and that you need all of that, but she's of a certain age and she's had all the resources open to her. And in 1 minute, she's like this delicate little baby that needs all this pampering. And then she turns so nasty. And it's so nasty. And those eyes, those mean eyes. And it's just.
Yeah, the wallet.
The comment about money. I hated that comment. I really, really do wish Garcelle would have stuck up a little, like would have spoken out against Sutton a little bit more in that moment. Yeah. I think someone needed to reprimand someone that Sutton trusts needed to check her. Like sometimes we all need to be checked by our friends. And that was a moment for Garcelle to check Sutton, and it didn't happen. And I was really bummed to see that because typically I like Garcelle, but the way that she rides so hard for Sutton, who I don't really see eye to eye with, I'm having a little bit of a hard time.
Instead, she like doubled down on going after Kyle, right? Like she's doubling down on going for Dorit and Kyle.
It makes I kind of wonder how Garcelle and Sutton even get along so well, because it does seem like there's so many things that Sutton does that are so the antithesis of who Garcelle is that I am trying to figure out why are they thick as thieves? How are they doing this?
I know. I think that maybe Garcelle just really feels sorry for Sutton. I mean, because the wallet comment, there's two ways to really look at this. It's one, it's sad because that's how Sutton finds
really
herself.
Totally.
Right? That's really what she thinks she's. Yeah. And then it's just a gross thing to say. It's just right. It's disgusting. So I think that Garcelle always kind of goes to feeling sorry for her. And
how long can you maintain a friendship with someone like that for real? And the thing that bothered me was at the end of this episode, Sutton trying to say that she sticks up for Kyle, but Kyle doesn't always stick up for her. Well, maybe it's because of the things that are coming out of your mouth that are indefensible. Did you ever think of that?
Yeah.
It
feels like Garcelle secretly, weirdly has an issue that Sutton wants to be liked by Kyle so much. I feel like Garcelle kind of throws Kyle under the bus even more because she's sort of like, wait a minute, like she gets her nose put out of joint a little bit by it. That's just kind of what I what I
I
feel.
like that. I like that thought. What are your thoughts on new housewife bows?
Bose. I like Bose. I think I'm not sure I'm fully sold on her fiance situation.
No, not sold. Shut it
No,
down.
right?
Shut it
Yeah.
down. This needs to, no, he needs to go. He's screaming red flag to me.
Me too. And I hate that for her.
Because I like her so much.
So
And I
much.
want to believe that a woman with her kind of intelligence and just everything that she's accomplished in her life would be able to look right through the bullshit.
Right.
And maybe we're wrong, I don't know, but I'm not getting good vibes from him right off the jump. He's just, I don't know, like I don't know. I can't put my finger on.
Yeah, he's a little opportunistic, and he was not. I didn't feel like they don't say "I love you," and they're talking about babies, but are they, or is she talking about babies? Because I don't really hear him piping up too much about actually wanting to have this child with her. He says he wants kids, but he sounds like that when he says it. I feel like he means something like down the road. At least in the earlier conversations they were having about it, and then even in this last episode, he was sitting with the daughter and her, and he like kind of went around a question. Then he said, I don't know if I answered it. And Bose was like, oh, it's okay. I liked the answer. And I was like, she's really letting her like love the heart get in the way of like her mind, right? Her brain. Because
another thing that I'm concerned about is he clearly says he wants a child, and this is like their storyline. But Bose has already had a really troublesome pregnancy before. She's of a certain age. And I'm wondering if she can't provide that child, then the relationship that's the end of that. And that seems a little unfair.
But to your point, Jen, like it's almost like he doesn't feel like he's giving her the commitment enough to have the baby. Like you need a little more if you're talking about babies. Like, will he just run out the door? They're not saying I love you. I don't know.
So weird. Yeah. And I felt like now he's saying more about he wants kids, but in the beginning, I felt like he got a little awkward and a little bit uncomfortable. And why is she even thinking about carrying this baby by herself?
I know.
Why is she even putting herself in this situation?
That was scary.
Right?
You know,
like, this is a surrogate situation.
In present day, he says I love you to her all the time.
Oh.
And is they're happy as can be and this and that. So
is this after the episode aired? Is this after the
episode
aired where she said we don't say I love you?
Yeah.
He was on a little press tour last week. And
of course.
Her and Garcelle also have some real beef going on.
Oh, really?
I guess Garcelle and her have some, I think there's been some shade thrown each way. Apparently Garcelle did a whole Instagram story shading her last week. But yeah, so something's happening there. So we will certainly have some explosive drama next season.
I don't love that.
I don't love that. I don't want to see them at each other.
No.
But it's got to be Sutton and Dorit of it all.
I also like that Bose is sticking up for Dorit, because the fact that people are sticking up for Sutton during this is kind of crazy. Like she's
well, it's making me think like is Garcelle maybe not the most female friendly? Like,
well, that would be so disappointing, because that's the vibes that we get from her, or that we are supposed to get from her. But I don't know.
Actions are loud and seeming like
and sticking up for Sutton.
Everybody.
Yeah. It's just, it doesn't make sense. We still have go ahead. No, that's what I was going to ask.
Do you see any of these women out and about?
No, not really. Kyle was a big supporter of mine when when I came out with my diagnosis of breast cancer, because she lost her mom to breast cancer. So I used to see Kyle and Kim all the time when we were young, but but I also don't go hang out in Beverly. Like, not really my scene.
So you brought up your breast cancer diagnosis, and you've been very vocal about that, kind of transitioning from Beverly Hills. But what is some advice you'd give to young women about doing the breast exam, getting mammograms. What made you choose to be so open about it?
Well, a number of things. First of all, I felt like if I was going to try to hide it and keep it quiet, that this was going to make me more sick. Like I wasn't going to be able to heal properly. Because I feel like, for me, I feel like maybe trauma had something to do with me getting cancer. It's just a feeling I have of why I got it. There's nothing clinically proven. So for me, number one, I wasn't going to hide anything. And how awkward is that when you're going to walk around looking obviously sick, hairless, I blew up like a balloon from all the steroids and chemo. I didn't want people to feel awkward when I ran into them, you know, people that I know. And it just, there were going to be suspicions. And then also I felt it was really important because mine was missed in mammograms. I got my yearly mammograms and yearly ultrasounds, and this was missed. So I didn't find it until I felt a throbbing, and I went and started feeling around, and I felt it and wanted to die. I was like, I cannot believe that I've been living with that right there. I wasn't doing my self exams because I was relying on the results of the mammogram and the ultrasound. So my advice is, I say, feel yourself up all the time. Like, get to know your girls, and just do that. It's the easiest. It's the easy, alongside getting the mammograms, because a lot of cancers are detected early with mammograms and ultrasounds.
Why did did the doctors give you a reason as to why it wasn't diagnosed or found during mammogram and ultrasound?
Yes, I have really breast tissue, but a lot of women do, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that's not uncommon. Right. So that's when the self-exams are really, really important. And had I been doing them, I would have been able to catch it much sooner.
Wow.
What did it feel like? Very obvious when you felt it.
Yeah. It just was this big hard lump, and I'm
doing it right now on screen.
We're following your directions, Nicole.
Whenever you feel the urge, whenever you think about it, just do it.
Is it hard?
Yeah, it was hard.
It was really hard.
See, now really early breast tissue is maybe not, and if you don't have dense breasts and you have just tissue that can show up on the that's when mammograms and ultrasounds are very effective, because then they can see it and catch that early. So it's throw everything at the wall. Do all the things.
Yeah. Well, Nicole, thank you for being so open with us. We love to do some rapid fire before we close out, if you're okay with that. They're fun. They're easy.
Okay.
If you could work with any director or actor today, who would it be?
I would really love to work with Tim Burton as a director. I am such a fan, and it's such a fantasy, and it's just I just love his worlds that he creates. And as an actress, I would love to work with Catherine O'Hara. Like,
yes. Great answer.
I worship her. Yes.
Amazing. Guilty pleasure.
Reality shows, and all of them. TLC, Bravo. I gorge on all of them.
Amazing. We are exactly the same. Temptation Island is coming to Netflix. If you've never watched Temptation Island, I encourage
every one of them.
It's so good. It's so good.
Love Is Blind, Married at First Sight. Like, that's all I watch. That and documentaries.
Married at First Sight is going to be one that I'm going to have to get into when I have the time.
Especially this last season.
Really?
Like, it was the hottest mess. It was so good. They just did their first reunion. It's so good.
Okay, put it on the list. Top 5 housewives in franchise history, if you had to name them.
Beverly Hills.
Okay. Who's your favorite out of?
Well, Lisa Vanderpump, which doesn't count anymore, but she just the queen.
No, it counts. It's of all time. So that's
of all time.
Of all time.
Who are your favorite housewives? So Lisa Vanderpump.
So it's Lisa Vanderpump from Beverly Hills. Then if we're going to OC, it's Vicki Gunvalson, because oh my God, I love a hot mess.
Yes, she dresses her.
right? Just completely unfiltered. And then New York, I love New York, but I love obviously not the latest New York. I love the original New York. Yeah. And Ramona Singer, I like her like I like Vicky, but then she's a little bit too cringy sometimes. But her and Luann are just like, Luann is one of those that I'll go watch her weird TikTok.
Cover. Oh.
No,
my God, where she's just
the
like
weirdest, like
smoking
TikTok,
cigs, like
and singing so poorly and like drunk and like
so weird.
I just love
It's
it.
amazing.
And then I love Phaedra Parks from Atlanta.
Amazing. Those were a great top 5. Amazing. Nicole, thank you so much for being on Bonded by Bravo. We're so excited that you were here for us. Anything you want to plug before we head out?
No, I have a Lifetime movie that I did a scene in coming up. I am Courtney Stodden on Lifetime, and my podcast, Perfectly Twisted, anywhere you podcast.
Amazing. Nicole, thank you so much for being here.
Bonded by Bravo.
We'll be back next week with an all-new episode of Bonded by Bravo. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Bonded by Bravo Pod, and you can listen wherever you find your podcasts. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube at Hurrdat Media.